ladies of William Wallace. I hate to disappoint you. I'm too small to be William Wallace. I'm also too old to be William Wallace. And my mother assures me I'm a lot better looking than Mel Gibson. So. If you want to join me, I'll tell you the story. Canadian, South African.
Ouch!
Summertime on it, right, you keep sit down, but it's right down. The Battle of Stirling Bridge was fought here over 700 years ago, down there, different times, between an English commander called the Earl of Surrey, leading the armies of Edward of England, against a man called William Wallace and a rabble of Scotsmen, sorely outnumbered. Only one nobleman of any note in the ranks, Sir Andrew de Murray. That was in 1297, and I know, because I fought with Wallace at the Battle of Stirling Bridge. But I didn't fight for money, and I didn't fight for glory. So I'll tell you something, my wee friend, there is no glory in war. I didn't fight for land because I've not got any land to fight for. I fought to get the rightful king of my country, John Balliol, out of the Tower of London and back here where he belongs, on the throne of Scotland. In the process of doing that, fling the cursed English out of my country. They've been here too long. So now Edward has sent his army here under his Earl of Surrey. In the north west country here, there's a young man called William Wallace. 6 months ago nobody knew who William Wallace was, but now he has notoriety. They killed a sheriff called Heselrigg. Why? This man was to arrest Wallace for minor crimes, but he knew Wallace's reputation for violence and quick-temperedness. So rather than face the man himself, he burned down the house. In the process, burning William Wallace's wife alive, Marion Braidfoot. So William Wallace exacted his revenge. But since the English occupation of this country, many mothers have lost daughters, aye, and fathers have lost sons to English steel and English fire. The difference between me and Wallace is simply this. Young William Wallace had stood up on his back legs like a man and said, "This is enough." But to the English, he's a traitor and a murderer. To the Scottish people, he's a saviour, he's a hero. But he's joined up with Andrew de Murray in the north. Between them, de Murray and Wallace have the makings of a Scottish army. But why? Why is England attacking us? Why are Wallace and men like myself up in arms? Let me tell you, my friends, it's a sorry path that brought us here. 10 years ago, the last great Celtic king of this nation, Alexander III, had lost his daughter, his son and his wife, all through natural causes. They just predeceased him. So he remarried this beautiful French lassie, Yolanda de Druge. One night, say 10 years ago, he was at a meeting of the nobles in Edinburgh. She was in a wee village called Kinghorn. Oh, about 40 miles from here, just where the estuary of the Forth spills into the sea. And after the meeting with the nobles, they had a wee drink. No whiskey, you understand. We didn't drink whiskey then, we drank good French claret raw. After a dram too many, they say the king decided he would cross the river and go and see his new bride. And gentlemen, who could blame him? Yolanda de Druge. Oh, he crossed the river fine. And he tried to ride on the cliffs there at Kinghorn and he fell from his horse and his neck was broken. That wasn't the only thing that was broken. For the first time in 4 centuries, 400 years, a king of Scotland's died and he has no son and heir. No named heir. 4 centuries. But there is a wee heiress, there's a wee lassie, a wee girl. She's away in Norway though. They call her the Maid of Norway. She's Alexander's granddaughter. The daughter of Eric II. So she'll be brought home and she'll be looked after by the nobles until she's old enough to be queen. Well, she'll be interesting because we've never had a queen before. I wonder if that'll make any difference. But now, down south, this Edward, a ruthless man. He knows Scotland's in confusion. He's already taken Wales. He's taking some of Ireland. He holds a third of the nation of France. Now he turns his eyes north to Scotland. We call him Longshanks as well. Here's a fine example here. Very tall gentleman with long legs, so we call him Longshanks, you see. You may have heard the nickname there, sir. Not a very reputable one, mind you, but a nickname.
You never used
He's
it.
decided when this wee girl comes back from Norway, she'll be promised in marriage to his son, the Earl of Carnarvon, who will become Edward II. so that his grip on Scotland can be all the tighter, my friends. Now, I'll tell you something, you see, he thinks he's my overlord, but he is no my overlord. The Pope in Avignon will tell you Scotland's an independent kingdom. We didn't hate to worry about that, did we? There's a wee lassie never made it to the mainland. She died of a mysterious disease in Orkney. Doesn't look like we're getting a queen after all. That'll suit all the barons and the nobles. Now they're all eating other's throats. Baliol's, the Bruces, the Cummins. Who are they going to choose? 400 years since this has happened. So they all started arguing amongst each other. Bruce will tell you he's the grandson of Earl David. Ah, but so is John Baliol. And I'll tell you something, my friend. John Baliol's mother, Devon Wheeler, that boy will be on the throne, right reason or none. But in the north, the Wolf of Badenoch, John Cummin the Red, tell you this. When there is no heir to the throne of Scotland, the strongest warrior with blood ties to the king becomes king. That's why you have had a strong nation for 400 years. Shines with 13 of them. 13 claimants to the throne of Scotland. The King of Holland. What's his name again? Florence the Fifth. He thinks he could be... I'll tell you something, I'm not a very clever man, son. But I've more chance of becoming King of Scotland than Florence of Holland, I'll tell you that, right you? And Derek. There's one man I could never get by. We've had kings called William the Lion. If John Cummin Badenoch gets his way, the next King of Scotland will be King John the Wolf of Badenoch. There's a man amongst them called Robert Pinkie. Can you imagine that? King Pinkie the First. I know. On a more serious note, they didn't ken what to do. So they decided, because some of them are still loyal to him, they would ask Longshanks who should be king. Because he knows his law. So, John Baliol will be your king. You ken why that is? Because he'll bend the knee to Edward. I tell you his mother would get him on the throne. You'll bend the knee. And there'll be conditions. And here are England's conditions. Just to make sure there's no uprisings or civil disorder because of this. I, Edward of England, will take every castle for the borders to Stirling, and I will garrison them with Welsh and English troops to keep you people down. That's how England walked into this country, without drawing a sword. Ah, dearie. 3 months into his kingship, England demands John Baliol form an army to fight France. No! We've got an allegiance with France, and if John Baliol was a man at all, he would stand up and tell Edward, we ally with Philip of France against you. They're too afraid. But that's all that Longshanks needed to hear. As soon as he heard the disruption in his Scotland, he sent his army here. They crushed us at Dunbar, I know. And they took John Baliol to the Tower of London. That was 10 years ago. 10 years have passed. What's happened? John Baliol's still at the Tower of London. And the English are running amok, or your countrymen, they do what they like, as they please. Not for much longer, eh? Edward requires a fight, does he? I'm not afraid of Edward Longshanks. I'm not afraid of his men. We were in Dundee when we heard the English army had arrived here, so we came here to this place. They call it the Abbey Craig. And we watched the English army forming up across that river. And Christ, I've never seen so many men in one place in all my life. Thousands of them. Colours, I didn't know there was that many colours under the sun. Flags, just like a sea. Flags and pennants, tents, marquees, men on horseback with their lances. I'm not a very clever man, my wee friend, but I'll tell you something, I can count up. And there's a lot more of them than there is of us, I can assure you that. Aye, they've got heavy horse or not. They'll ride right over the top of me, will they? Ah, we'll see. 2 days later was the day of the battle, the 11th of September, the year of our Lord 1297. They sent negotiators across. I'm not very clever, I've told you that. See, there's negotiations to be done here. We're outnumbered, they know it. I mean, these boys have never been beaten in Europe. We'd have fought an open battle. So they'll send negotiators. What do they offer Andrew the money? The money's got everything he wants. So I'll offer it all to Wallace. Wallace has got nothing. They don't want men to die for no reason. They think they're going to win this battle. So they came across here, 2 Dominican priests, and they offered William Wallace lands in England and Scotland and befitting titles that he could never hope to gain. What kind of man was William Wallace? He told me he didn't want their titles, he didn't want their land. He outnumbered Wallace, he got outmatched. Go back and tell the Earl of Surrey this, from William Wallace. Didn't they come here to ask for peace? We came here to fight, to defend ourselves and free this kingdom. So let them come on. Let them come on, and this will show in their beards. So they came out. A big loop of the river down there. Down at the side here, a wee narrow bridge, a wooden bridge. Well, I'm not a military tactician, but you're not going to tell me that the English are going to channel all their men out a wee bridge. That's not it. That's not it. What else suits me? See what he's doing here in the bridge? The ground's like a quagmire, it's like a bog. And they're going to bring heavy horse onto that. Bring them on. And so they did. They came across the bridge, the Royal Knights of England, the cream of Edward's army, two abreast. Looking all polished and colourful, no like soldiers. Then you be fooled, my friend. These men hold a third of France. They're hardened troops. This isn't going to be a cake. So they started to come out. Their horses started snagging about in the mud. But then, Hugo de Cressingham, the taxman, urging them across the bridge. He wants his battle finished. He wants his army back to attack France. So he pushed them in until they all got bogged down there. Wallace and Dumorry, never mentioned Wallace's name with him, mentioned Andrew Dumorry. We're looking here for the viewpoint, and they decide whether we should attack. You want to run, run. We want to take this battle. The way we're going to do it is take that bridge. Down here I want you in shelters, I want long spears, I want no horses kept away from my men. Don't you worry about the bridge. I'll take the bridge. And I'll lead for the front. Go like the Earl of Surrey sitting on his horse, watching the battle for a mile away. Follow me, we take the bridge, we take this battle. So we charged across there. Oh man, 10 years already. 10 years I've been waiting for this. Hod the bridge, bringing men down, kill the men, kill the horses. Screaming. Up to your knees. It's a blur, you know. It's just a blur. I've never been anything like that in my life. Oh yeah, I'm fighting, but no this. Hundreds of men hacking at each other. Up to your knees in muck. Just seemed like we fought for hours. You fought until you fall down, or you fight until someone tells you you're dead. And then it happened. The bridge collapsed, trapping half of the English army on the other side. Who's outnumbered now? No us. They stood and watched as we killed our compatriots. We won. The English retreated. There he goes, the Earl of Surrey, riding on his horse away back down to England to tell Longshanks he's been defeated by the Scots. He's a braver man than I thought he was, brother, because I'd have been heading for Ireland and sanctuary. But we've won, but what have we lost? Andrew de Murray lies dying at the feet of his men, a man, a noble man, who led his men. Andrew de Murray's dying. Wallace is still alive. Wallace Sam's here. Who's in charge of the army? A commoner. A man with even what? A general or a king or a lord or a baron or a noble. A common man who's already made it plain he has no requirement for land or titles. Wallace does not negotiate. I've never seen an angrier man than William Wallace in my life. He wants revenge. He wants revenge for his country. I don't care who's on the throne. It doesn't matter to me if it's Bruce or Bailey or coming. Wallace, he's not interested. He wants revenge. So they have to be very careful with him. So they offered him the guardianship of this country. A man that nobody knew 18 months ago is now the most powerful man in this nation. He deserved it. Sir William Wallace, if you please. Sir William Wallace. So what we do with our victory, William? Well, I'll tell you this. We're going to invade England. We're going to invade England, and we're going to put it to fire and sword, and we're going to burn it. And we're going to loot, and we're going to pillage, and we're going to terrorise them, and we're going to put the fear of death into their hearts, because that is how you do it. Make them more afraid of us than they are of that barbarian king of theirs. And maybe, when Edward comes back, as he will, maybe the not barons of northern England will be less keen to cross the Scottish border when they've seen my justice and when they've seen my revenge. Aye. Well, we'll be called barbarians for doing that. I'll tell you something, I'm a single man. I've never been blessed with children. I can't speak for the hundreds of men that have wept by the graves of their children. I cannot speak for them. Let that be on their conscience. Let them deal with their own gods. Barbarians are right. A year ago when England invaded, the people of Berwick-on-Tweed, the town, surrendered. And for 2 days the English soldiers were given a white card, a carte blanche as they say in France, to do what they wanted. Men, women and children were killed in their hundreds for amusement, for sport, because they were Scottish. When you tell me that I'm a barbarian, I'll do what I have to do. We'll come back. You'll have learned them a lesson, but I think you'll learn the harder lesson, eh? You'll learn this. You never humiliate Edward of England. You think he's going to allow some rampant Scottish earls to take his northern border? You think he's going to let the memory of Stirling Bridge exist? He'll send back an army of the likes that we've never seen, and he will run over the top of this nation. The nobles will not support Wallace. Wallace will fight, and so will I. So if it's any reassurance to you, my friend, see when that savage comes back on my border, I'll be right here. I'll be right here and I'll be waiting for him. Mark me, I'll be here.